Welcome to Blue Compass, where we are discussing if SEO is smoke and mirrors. So in this video, we'll explain why some people are skeptical of SEO, why we believe in it, and what you can get when you do real high-quality SEO. How can it really impact your brand and bring you opportunities? So I have Katrina with us. She's our digital marketing director here at Blue Compass. And Katrina, so is SEO smoke and mirrors? The reason that we're even making a video about this is because we recently had a couple situations that brought this up. Do you want to tell us about those?
Absolutely. So we were in an interview with a prospective employee and they were doing great. We actually thought this was going to be a pretty good fit. And then out of nowhere, the interview dropped. Well, the only thing that I don't agree with is Blue Compass's stance on SEO. I actually believe SEO is smoke and mirrors. And we took a beat and we asked a couple more questions and
deal breaker.
Yeah, I mean, kind of important when you're interviewing for an SEO first agency. So it felt like an off time to bring it up. But we asked, what do you mean by that? And his example was that it's a bunch of big words. It's a bunch of things that people are choosing to say to scare people into paying them money. Mm-hmm. And while we understand that it is a lot of big words, it's not that complicated. So we wanted to break it down today. And we were talking about that, kind of got a good chuckle out of it after the interview. And then less than a week later, we were in another meeting where we had two agencies present, ourselves, and then a client. And one of the other agencies, we were in an SEO audit presentation. So we're digging through.
Which we were giving.
Correct. Yep. We're presenting, we're showing the errors on the website. We're talking about what it means and how it impacts Google's crawling capabilities. And one of the other agencies said, well, SEO is smoke and mirrors, so it doesn't matter anyways. 2 times in 1 week, we were like, all right, that's it. We got to talk about this. We have to help share. What does SEO actually mean? How can you do it effectively? And how do we start to combat that narrative that's out there?
Yeah. So, okay, tell us, here at Blue Compass, what do we believe when it comes to SEO?
We believe SEO is creating truly valuable content and an easy-to-use website experience for your specific target audience. It's that simple.
Yep.
There's a lot of jargon. There's a lot of acronyms. If you're jumping into SEO for the first time and just doing a Google search, it is so tricky to figure out what's happening, and we can totally empathize with that situation. But SEO is all about, what experience do you want when you go to a website? What do you want to see? What do you want to show up in a search result based on what you're looking for? And how do you want the website to react to that? You want it to be fast. You want it to show you what's actually pertinent to what you are searching for, not a bunch of gobbledygook. And you want to be able to easily scan a page and find the content that you're looking for. So really simple best practices, and that's actually what SEO is.
Yeah, at its heart, SEO is just providing a great experience for your target audience. That's what it is. So when we hear, as an SEO first digital marketing agency, when we hear someone say that SEO is smoke and mirrors, I understand why some people might think that, because sometimes it seems like a lot of tricks. It seems technical. It seems like you're just trying to appease search bots and not humans. But it's really just creating a valuable experience for your target audience. And so that's why when we hear it, that seems silly to us, because we want to create the best experiences we can for our clients. We want to create great experiences online. And it's like SEO is so incredibly simple, but also complex. It's simple because it's just about creating great, valuable experiences for people. But then it's complex because specifically Google has over 200 different metrics, it looks like, when it comes to SEO. Its algorithm is very complex. It looks at so it can seem really intimidating, and it does take a lot of work. It does take a lot of really good writing. It takes research. It takes technical prowess. It takes development and programming. But again, at its heart, it's just creating a really great experience for people.
Absolutely. One of the things in the industry that we really feel has perpetuated this narrative is when people talk about writing content for bots versus writing content for humans. And the way we approach that at Blue Compass, we're just focusing on that target audience. Like you said, we are 100%. What do we need to do to make that content valuable for the user who's reading it and who's looking for this information? And the only space that we start to worry about bots is when we get into a really technical portion of SEO, and that's called schema specifically. So we are actually able to write a couple lines of code where we are summarizing the valuable content on that page that was clearly written for that target audience into a different format that's easy to read for bots. That's the only space that we should be talking about bots versus users. And that is one tiny piece of the SEO puzzle. So it shouldn't overtake that. It shouldn't really be the narrative there. And schema is really valuable. We've got a bunch of case studies about how that works well, but we can't write good schema if we haven't written really quality content that's easily scannable, that's answering questions, that's talking about what the most relevant topics on that page are, which is, again, all about the target audience at the end of the day.
Again, when you talk about, providing experiences for bots, I think you're right. That's one of the reasons why SEO sometimes has a bad name, because people are like, I just want to create, content for humans. And Google used to maybe be a little more like, catering towards bots, I suppose. But as time has gone on, Google's algorithm has gotten a lot more sophisticated, and it's really does a great job today recognizing quality content, natural content, where keywords aren't stuffed in there, unnaturally.
Totally.
And Google's just gotten so much better about identifying what is a good experience and what is authentic content. It's definitely not perfect, but it's a lot better than it used to be at that sort of thing. And therefore, today, writing and creating great content and experiences for humans is much more SEO friendly than it used to be.
Absolutely.
You used to be able to focus on the bots a little bit more and not as much on the humans, but it's become that way.
And you hit on something really critical there that I want to go back to, keywords. That can feel really scary. A lot of times clients are asking us, how do I know I've picked the right keyword?
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier because of that transition away from the bots and into more of that. What's that user experience? What are people asking?
Mm-hmm.
What are people looking for? Those are the keywords that we need to include in our content. And if it feels too stuffy, or it feels like there's too many instances, or it's not naturally readable, it's no longer SEO friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So that really easy, okay, I'm going to read this out loud and make sure it sounds natural. That's what it is at the end of the day when it comes down to keywords.
Mm-hmm. I'll give an example here. So one of the things that we do when we create content here at Blue Compass is we make sure to put headings throughout. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's called an H1 or heading 1 tag at the top, and then we'll have an H2, a little smaller title, an H3, a smaller H2s and H3s throughout and everything. And we do this for a couple reasons, and one is because it is an SEO best practice. This is something that Google suggests. This is something that bots like to see. It helps bots identify what the content is throughout the page. It helps bots scan the content and understand it, but it also helps humans identify and scan the content too. Yep. And the reason that bots prioritize these is because humans do, and Google has shaped its algorithm around that. So, you're catering to both. And again, as Google's algorithm gets more sophisticated, it generally does a better job at mirroring what is a good experience for a human. So just generally following SEO best practices is a really great idea to do. Like having valuable content that's well written, having, shorter paragraphs, having these headings, all this sort of thing. SEO best practices are good, not just because it makes the bots happy, but it makes humans happy.
Totally. And if you're reading SEO best practices, what Drew just referenced here was what's called scannable content. Mm-hmm. So making sure that it's easy to read, it's broken up with those heading tags. And heading tags on websites are normally a different color, a slightly different font. So it just breaks that up, and it makes it really easy on a quick look. Okay, this is the question I'm looking to answer. This is exactly the paragraph I need to read, which also means we need to be processing as we're writing content, not that the reader's going to see the whole page. There are instances where you can click in from search and it actually pops you down to the specific paragraph you're talking about. And when you have something like that, we need to be formatting our content. So I don't actually need the intro here. I don't need the conclusion. I can read this paragraph, understand exactly what's happening, and it's making that content self-sustainable within each paragraph and within each section.
Yes. So we have a lot of these SEO best practices at an SEO 101 guide that we have on our website. The link is in the description. And if you're not quite sure what to do, check this out. It's really simple. We've put it together in a really SEO friendly way, but
scannable content.
But it's really easy to look through this page and just understand the basics of SEO and the basics of how you can set up your page so that it will do better with Google and better with humans as well. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, we're talking about content here, but SEO isn't just valuable content that your audience wants to read or watch or listen to. It's also the experience they have on the page. And sometimes what controls that is what we would call technical SEO.
Yes.
Could you talk, what is that?
Technical SEO is how do we actually update the coding of the page to make it function the way that the user wants. So we're talking about site speed. We're talking about load time. We're talking about if you're scrolling down a page and something loads a little bit slower and it jumps you back up a little bit. All of these things fall into technical SEO. Technical SEO also encompasses really simple things of like a broken link on a page. You know, if you're on a website and you click on a resource, you want it to load. Really simple, thinking about that human on the other side. I also know I am quite impatient, if I'm being honest. When I'm loading a website, I want it to come really quickly to me, and that's why site speed matters. It's not because it's a technical SEO metric. It's because we are impatient. It's 2024, almost 2025, and we expect things to load pretty quick, you know, with so many people having 5G, bandwidth, all of these things. You want the experience to happen at a quick pace. So it's about how can we settle that for the user and do it by making our websites as healthy as possible. And this can be done in a wide variety of ways. And some of it is stuff that we need developers for, but a lot of it's stuff we as marketers can control. Do I need all of these pixels that I have decided I want to put on my website? I'm not running meta advertising right now. Maybe I take that off until I'm starting my meta ads again. Meta is one of the slowest pixels that we can add to a website. If you're doing some sort of user testing, whether that's through a tool like Hotjar, if you're using the scroll tracking functionality of GA4, we all know we need GA4. Like, that's a non-negotiable in our world. It does slow the site down just a tiny, tiny bit, but totally worth it because we need to know how users are interacting. But we can make GA4 faster by not overloading it with tracking that we aren't actually looking at. So it's the end of the year. This is the perfect time to audit. What am I doing? What are my goals for next year? First of all, do I have the tracking I need to make that happen? But how can I also cut the waste here? If I'm not running on Pinterest anymore, let's get that Pinterest pixel out of here. We have so much control over those simple things. So let's work together to cut where we can and make sure that we're getting a quick user experience.
Yes.
We can also do that via images. So how big are the images that we're uploading to our pages? You know, we all want our headshot to look great, but does it need to be this massive image that came straight from the photographer? Or can we cut it down to like 100, 150 megs because it's that big on the screen?
Kilobytes.
Yeah, kilobytes. Excuse me. Yes.
The megs are the original photos.
Yeah,
but they look great.
Yeah. We don't want that.
No,
don't upload megs
not.
to your site.
Ideally not. Yeah, so that technical SEO, the experience of the page, you know, a user has on the page is really important, and probably just as important as the content. You can have the best content in the world, but if it takes 20 seconds to load. I was talking with a potential prospect client recently, and this person sent me a video of their website loading, and it took 33 seconds for the homepage to load. That's too long. I mean, your homepage, any page on your site should load right away in like a second or less. So that's a really bad experience, and that's something Google says, hey, don't do that. And the reason Google says that isn't just for the bots, it's for the users. It's a horrible experience.
I mean, can you imagine sitting here just in silence for 30 seconds? Like, that's a long time.
I know, right, yeah.
We'd all be uncomfortable. We're not going to do that, but yeah, that's too long.
So again, SEO is all about the experience that you give the visitor. That's what SEO means. That's what modern day, good, true, real SEO means. So it's really important.
One way we've also seen websites struggle with this recently is with AI-generated content or third-party content. There are a lot of third-party content resources that say, maybe let's say HVAC, for example. You can buy 6 articles a month and you'll get them. They'll upload them straight into your content management system. But the problem is how many other sites are buying those same 6 articles a month? So now we've got duplicate content, which means it can be found on multiple resources across the web without any distinction, without any excitement for the client. And then we also have things where AI is generating this content. And if AI content is on your website, Google has already made it very clear. They're crawling for that. They're looking for those unique speech patterns that come from AI, and they're downgrading websites based on those factors because they want authentic content. They want it to be about you. They want it to be something that shows your value add and what makes your company unique, so you're providing that quality user experience.
Yeah. Google cares a lot about the source from which the information comes, and your site reputation is really important to Google. And Google has a site reputation policy, and just like you said, that any third-party content, like white-labeled content and duplicate content across, it's just not a great experience for the user. And so we're really seeing Google start to not rank that nearly as highly, or if at all.
Definitely.
So yes, that experience is incredibly important.
It sounds like a really great way to tighten up the budget. It's cheap, definitely. Yeah. It's comes in really quickly. You don't have to do much on your side, but you're not going to get that bang for your buck that you're looking for, that your other content that's generated by somebody on your team or a quality copywriter really brings to your website.
Yes. And we're aware of numerous publishers right now that are really being hurt by this type of content. I mean, they've been white labeling content for years. They've had some other agency or organization, create this content that's put out to all these different websites, and now their traffic is really starting to tank. So it can really hurt you. That's why, it takes doing really good website content, having a great website, doing great SEO takes time and budget, but it is worth it in the long run. And whenever you try to take shortcuts, you might get, it's the same with anything in life, I suppose, but you might get short-term gain, but you can really hurt yourself in the long run. And another example of this is buying links. Google's algorithm used to be very, very based on links. It still is to some degree, but there were a lot of services, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years ago, where you could go and you could buy links to your website, and other websites would link to your website, and it would help your rankings. You would rank better. But over the last few years, that's really started to tank, and now it's considered a black hat technique, and it actually really hurts your website. So there's no shortcuts. It's just about putting in the time and effort to optimize your content, make it really great, and make the experience great.
Another black hat experience we recently saw was we had a site come to us. They asked for an audit, and they had a bunch of hidden text on their website. They wanted all of these locations listed because they service all of these areas, and they just made the color of that font the same as the color of the page.
Yeah.
We can't do that. Google's so much smarter than that. We can't hide things like that. That's something, like you mentioned with buying links, would have worked 5-10 years ago, but they can see, they're crawling all of that. They're seeing what color the copy is. They're seeing what color your background is. We can't just hide stuff from Google these days and think we're taking a shortcut.
Yeah, don't be too sneaky about it.
No, definitely not.
Katrina, can you give us a few, we are an SEO first agency. We've done this for years. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons we believe so strongly in SEO is because we've seen it work. We've seen it bring incredible traffic and sessions and opportunities and leads and profits to so many great organizations that we work with. And can you give us a couple examples maybe of SEO campaigns or projects that have really been able to help a client?
Absolutely. My favorite example is Preferred Pest Control. Mm-hmm. They have one location here in Urbandale, Iowa. Mm-hmm. They're just getting a second one, but at the time of this, they only had one.
Yeah, a smaller client.
Totally, smaller client, family-owned, really great business. Mm-hmm. But pest control is such a heavily populated, really competitive industry. But they really cared about, I want a good experience on my website, and we trust you guys to tell us what we need to do here. So one of the things we did was we actually created a pest library for them. Mm-hmm. They had some previously third-party generated content, and then what we did is we took that and we put their expertise into it. So we put quotes from their pest experts talking about how they treat these things, and we really created it and optimized it to be a more unique experience for who they are, how they specifically deal with this. And I think we have, nowadays it's probably like 60 plus pests in there, but at the time we only had 30, and we took the time to update each of those 30 pages. And what we saw was, it took a while, but after about 3 months of starting this update process, we started to see more and more organic traffic coming in. So people from Google, Bing, those different search engines coming back to the website. And after 12 months of that, and it was sitting there, we were creating more content on the website, we actually started to outrank national brands like Springer Pest Control, Orkin, and those things. And Preferred Pest Control was getting national traffic to their website, which is amazing. Obviously, we were ranking so amazing locally and in the state of Iowa, where they were able to actually get customer service those clients. But they were also getting traffic from states that they don't service because they had better content than those national brands. So it's never, and that's so highly competitive. So it's not an impossible thing. We don't want companies that have smaller budgets or smaller websites and target audiences to feel like this is out of bounds for them. You can make such an impact there.
That brings to mind another situation. So another one of our clients is Logier Heating and Cooling, and we worked with them to improve their website and do many, many different things when it came to their online presence. But we helped them create some really, really high quality articles that were how-to articles that would tell their target audience, how to fix their heater on their own, how to save energy, things like that. And I remember
change your furnace
filter. Yeah, things like that. And we wrote an article, and it might have been something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we helped them create this article, and we spent a lot of time in research, interviewed them, had great quotes in it, did all the best practices, had great images and things like that. And I remember we launched the article not too long ago, and then we noticed, wow, the traffic is really spiking to this. And it was because Forbes picked it up, and Forbes used it as a reference and talked about this as we went in, we went into the
seasonal energy saving tips. Yep.
And because all the time and effort was put into that one article, a really great content piece is just a magnet that brings your target audience towards you. It's a landing page, and it got the attention of this national publication and just brought in a lot of traffic, which was fantastic.
Absolutely. And that's a great example of, we could not have bought that link on Forbes. We had to create really quality content that helped the user at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure there was a video showing literally how to do a couple of these things on your machines. And that's what made it that quality content that got that link from Forbes. And that shows so much more authority, so much more expertise than something that we could have bought.
Another one, so you probably could speak to this better than us, but one of our clients, Unity Point Health, is a big health center in the state of Iowa and a couple other states, and we started working with them and helped them really bulk up their content, create valuable experiences, and put a lot of time and energy into that. And it's something they hadn't done before. This was many years ago, and after about a year or so, we started outranking some content on Cleveland Clinic, on Mayo Clinic, on even like some government health websites, just because we had put in all this time and effort. And it took a little while. It didn't happen instantly, but it was really worth it.
And they really focused on like FAQ-based content. What are questions that people are asking about their health that we can answer, that we can give them a bunch of resources? These articles were over 1,000 words with each one, and it was all focused around a single question. So what's that main level question that somebody has, and how can we give you 10 different things that you should be thinking about when we're answering that question? We had quotes from the doctors in there. It was a really great way for them to show value to people, show that they cared about the human on the other side. They weren't just a bottom line in a budget. It was something that they cared about helping, and they actually got more patients from that too, because they showed we're willing to give away that expertise. This goes back to like the theory of content marketing. If you give away that expertise, it feels counterintuitive. People are going to trust you more, which is going to make them want to work with you more. So you don't have to worry about holding in some of those secrets. Let's help people understand what we can do for them and show why we're the best possible option.
Yeah, the best way you can prove you're the expert is to show it rather than just claim it. Yeah, that's the whole concept of content marketing. So another case study we found when it comes to SEO was actually on Google's Search Console website. And it was a great example. This was a company called Xamarin, and they increased their traffic by double. They doubled their traffic in about a year just by following SEO best practices. And so the first thing they did on their website is to clean up Google Search Console errors. And basically, in a nutshell, Google Search Console is kind of like your window into Google's brain, and it's a resource in which Google can tell you what needs to be improved and fixed on your website. And it's something we spend a lot of time in. And
it's free.
And it's free, yeah. And it's free. So if you do not use Google Search Console for your website, it's really a powerful tool, and it's very handy, or we can help you with that. But they went in and fixed all their errors. So this just goes back, I guess what is an error? What is an
Yeah.
SEO error?
An SEO error is anything that falls outside of the user experience we think somebody would want to have. So a broken link. If you click on a link and it has to go to multiple stops along the way, that's called a redirect. And that's bad because it takes longer for the page to load because it's trying to load multiple resources. Things like that are a lot of what errors are. If a page is loading too slow and Google says this isn't a quality experience, that shows up in Search Console, all of those things. And the way I like to look at Search Console, people have asked us, like, well, can't we call Google and change this listing? No, we do not have access to a 1-800-Google help us, but we can look at Search Console. We can see what they're seeing when they're looking at our website, and we can make sure that we're providing the best experience on that possible.
Yeah, so just fixing those little errors makes the user's experience better, and thus Google has a greater chance to rank your page a little bit higher. So anyway, Sammer went and they fixed their Google Search Console errors, and then after that, they just implemented best practices. So they rewrote their meta titles and their meta descriptions for each page, which worked really well for them. They got rid of their duplicate content. They put in canonical URLs. So that's a little more technical, but basically they just specified which page is most important when there was any content that was duplicate or close to duplicate.
A great example of that, we write a ton of blogs around here. We have, 16 to 21 pages of blogs that live on our website. So each of those pages has a different URL, and that's 16 to 21 options for Google to show in a search result. I don't want somebody to land on page 21. Those articles are a little bit older. They're good content, but that's not where we want to direct people. So we put what Drew just mentioned as a canonical tag on there, and then we're able to say, for all of these 21 pages, come to this first page. It's our newest, it's our most recent, it's our best possible content. So that's a great example of where you would want a canonical tag.
Absolutely. And then finally, after just doing some of those simpler best practices in that technical one, they added schema markup to their website, which is what you talked about earlier. It's a little more complicated and technical, but after they did that, their website traffic doubled. So just another case study, you know, when you take the time and effort to do real good SEO, it works.
Absolutely. And we still hear today, well, I don't think people are looking for us. That's fine, but you have content that's valuable to a user. So even if they don't know who you are, they need your products, they need your services. There's a reason you're in business at the end of the day. So we actually prefer to show up for those things, and we want that traffic from people who aren't aware of our clients' brands, but who are aware of what they need. And that's why we care about SEO at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else to throw out there, Katrina? Does that cover it?
I think so.
Obviously, we're big believers in SEO. If we can help your organization with SEO, help you rank better in search engines, get more quality traffic and more conversions on your website, we'd love to be able to do so. Please reach out to us. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you next time.